faster than a speeding typewriter, more powerful than a printing press, able to speak over tall buildings in a single sound. Look, up on the dial!
It's a conservative!
It's a liberal! It's Supermouth! Yes, it's Supermouth, strange visitor from the past with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal talk show hosts. Supermouth, who can change the course of local politics, bend ears with his bare mouth, and who, disguised as Mike Wiley, mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan radio show, fights a never-ending battle for truth, justice, and the American way.
Good morning and welcome to another adventure into talk podcasting. I am Mike Wiley, the evil Mike Wiley. We have a lot going on today. Matter of fact, I was going to start the show about half an hour ago, and then I saw that China is attacking the United States and it's attacking Russia at the same time. Now, how can the Communist Chinese, or should I call them the Progressives? That's their code name in America, Progressives. How can the Communist Chinese be attacking America and Russia at the same time? Well, if the Communist Chinese have taken over the Democratic Party, say in 1993, and have been running the Democrats since that time, and then anything the Democrats do is, of course, an attack on the United States by China. But then how could China be attacking Russia? I thought China and Russia were aligned in the superpower. But actually, through their agent number 247, whatever, who's in the White House, Joe Biden, has authorized Ukraine to fire U.S. missiles into Russia. Which, of course, is an act of war. Of course, they are at war, but now Russia can turn around and attack NATO or do something. Excuse me. So I had to stop to find out what the hell is going on. And I was able to catch some news things. Evidently, the Russians say they shut down 5 out of 6 missiles, which means 1 missile hit. And I guess they were aiming at some kind of military weapons depot or something like that. But really, it's an attack on the United States as well, because the Democrats lost the election. Now, they don't like losing elections. They work really hard at stealing every election they can. And they've been at war with the United States probably since the day they assassinated Abraham Lincoln. Now, let me ask you a question. Let's think about this. Was the assassination of Abraham Lincoln by Democrats an act of war, or is it just a coincidence? Was it just a political action? Okay? Because what happened was, after Lincoln was assassinated, his vice president, who happened to be a Democrat named Johnson, that's funny. John F. Kennedy had a vice president who was a Democrat and was named Johnson. And Kennedy was assassinated as well. What a coincidence! So with that assassination of Lincoln, Johnson, the Democrat, became president, and a lot of the things that Lincoln wanted to do, like the 40 acres and a mule, that went out the door, and the Democrats began to re-enslave the blacks. And their program basically ended 2 weeks ago, when a good portion of blacks said, F this, we're done with the Democrats, and it's about time, and it's going to continue. But the war of the Democrats on the United States is going to continue till all of them are gone and have gone away somewhere. So we have multiple issues to discuss. Let me just, as I look here and see the map behind me, let me just point out to you that we've already begun the process. I've gone through the 8 states that we're going to split. We're going to use the West Virginia precedent set in 1863, when West Virginia had enough of Virginia and decided to separate, and they did. And they were able to do it because there was a Republican Congress and a Republican Senate and a Republican president. So we're hoping that that's the same scenario that we're going to have now. So I've gone through it. I've discovered some amazing things, like the state of Chicago, state of Illinois, basically has been stealing 3 congressional seats every 2 years. And they do it by taking this, see this river? It goes like this because right here is, I believe it's called East St. Louis. And it's got a large amount of blacks. And then there's a large amount of blacks over here in this city. So what they do is they have to tie in these districts to get that black vote in. Okay, and then of course here, they take the black vote from Chicago and they move it down, connect it down to here. So there's basically 3 congressional districts that shouldn't be Democrat, but they're Democrat because of gerrymandering. And if you look at the United States, you'll see, gee, did the Democrats have a plan to take over the country by taking over the cities? You know, like Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Denver, Minneapolis, Chicago, New York City, Buffalo. Is that just a coincidence? Or does it look like a pattern? It's a pattern, okay? And if there's someone who can pick out patterns, it is I. So I've got all this stuff I've put together, but I'm just going to run with what my mind is coming up with right up front. All right, so we're at war with the Democrats. We've been at war with the Democrats for a while, but really, let me stop for a second and say, we've been really at war with progressives. And the progressives began their war on the United States in 1912. And the first thing they did was they created an entity of power known as Perkins Coie, which is a law firm that was started in Seattle in 1912. And what happened after 1912? Well, you had 1913. Just a year later, you had the 16th and 17th Amendments passed, which gave us the criminal income tax, and then the crime to remove state representation in the U.S. Senate by making that so that they were not able to pick their own senators, but millionaires and billionaires from other countries could through their donations. That has to change. Okay, everything they've done is obvious. I've got a nice list here of progressives. Hold on one second. I'm going to try to cover quite a bit, but what I'm going to do is, this is going to get broken up into 2 videos, because this whole video, I'm going to be talking for about an hour, and I'm going to break it up into 2. Let's start with the progressives. Okay, so we know what the progressives did. What are they doing now? There's an organization called the Congressional Progressive Caucus. There's about 97 members. All of them are Democrats. What a coincidence. And the interesting part is all the members of the criminal organization, the Cartel of Hell, Ocasio-Cortez, Jamal Bowman, who I believe now is gone. You've got Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Cori Bush, who's gone. We got rid of her. Ayanna Pressley. And then, of course, their associated methods of attack. Maxine Waters, Jamie Raskin, Pramila Jayapal, Jasmine Crockett, Dan Goldman, Jerry Nadler. They're all part of the progressives. All the big mouths, all the ones that you see all the time attacking America, it's the progressives. That's what they're doing, okay? And they're attacking America now. They don't like the idea that they've lost the election. They couldn't steal it as much as they wanted to. They're still trying to steal it in Pennsylvania. And I'm kind of dismayed that the guy that just ran for U.S. Senate in Wisconsin, Hoyd, decided to give in and not challenge all the way through, which only tells me that you weren't really ready for the job. because the job isn't being a businessman and dealing with Americans. The job is dealing with communist, progressive, Chinese invested people. Okay, and that's what you were going up against. Why do you think you lost in the last 5 minutes of the election? Why do you think 13,000 votes just came out of nowhere and all of a sudden you lose? Okay, let me tell you about a Senate race in Minnesota in 2008. Okay, and off the top of my head, I can't recall the Republican that was running for re-election, but he lost to that idiot Frank, that comedian. He lost by some 300 votes in a recall voting. Okay, where were those 300 votes found? This is where the game show music would be playing now. Where did they find those 300 votes? I'll tell you, they found them in someone's glove box. Yeah, glove box. And that's why it was important that this happened, so that you'd have an extra Democrat in the Senate for purposes of warfare against the United States. And that's where we're at. We're at a state of war with the Democratic Party. They have decided to align themselves with different enemies of the United States from time to time. And in 1993, they aligned themselves with the Communist Chinese of China. What a coincidence. Let me just give you a clear package of that. Now, a lot of you don't know this stuff. Okay, I've covered it before in other shows. But I'm going to read something to you. If you know me, you know that anything I say, I always have documented proof on it. And usually those documented proofs are congressional history, briefs, whatever, that are documents that would be able to be used in court, where you have someone sitting on the stand testifying to it. This is from the U.S. Senate hearing on March 15th, 1999, China's theft of nuclear secrets. Now, I'm just going to jump a little because everything matches. How would you get the media to stop looking into the Chinese theft of nuclear secrets and the treason committed by Bill Clinton as president, giving away technology to the Chinese in favor of campaign donations from the two companies that were sending the illegal substances to China, so that their missiles could land right up my ass instead of in New Zealand? If you understand everything I've showed you for the 2 years I've been doing these shows, everything matches. Everything the Democrats do is calculated, okay? They knew about the first World Trade Center bombing. They had the documentation. They had actually employed one Egyptian guy to go in and to work with the group so that they would be able to expose them before they did any damage. But for some reason, they still let them blow up the bottom part of the World Trade Center with a truck bomb on February 26, 1993. And then 2 days later, within 2 days, all of a sudden, the FBI and the ATF are attacking Christians at Waco. Why is that? Because when the Clintons commit a crime, they have to cover it up by giving the media something else to talk about right away. That's how it's always done. And part of this whole process, let me explain something to you. What you're seeing right now, we could probably call the Dirty Dozen. And that's the next 12 years. Because the next 12 years in this country, Democrats are going to jail. And Matt Gaetz will be the Attorney General for the next 12 years, and he's going to do that. But wait, Mike, how could it be the next 12 years? Donald Trump's only going to be president for 4 years. And then J.D. Vance has 8 years after that. Donald Trump is picking people for 12 years. For 12 years. Some aren't going to stay that 12 years, but I bet Pete Hegseth stays as as the Secretary of Defense for the next 12 years, and I bet Matt Gaetz stays as Attorney General for the next 12 years. Now, I'm going to show you right now one problem that I have with Gaetz. Okay, Matt Gaetz, I know one of the things we're going to talk about is the sex stories that are coming out about Matt Gaetz and evidently Pete Hegseth. Okay, and I guess the deal with Pete Hegseth was he was at this place in California making some presentation, and people in the group where they were having drinks and stuff, and this one woman who was there at the hotel with her husband and her children decided that she was going to escort Mr. Hegseth to his room because he was drunk. And supposedly, they ended up having sex. Now, I know that Pete Hegseth is a handsome guy, but evidently the woman is now saying, after some 10 years, which is interesting. You know how the Democrats are always able to pull women out of the past 10, 15 years to be able to sit in front of somebody and go, yeah, he raped me. He had misconduct and sexual bullshit. Pete Hegseth, Matt Gaetz, meet Thomas and Kasich. Not Kasich. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Brett Kavanaugh. Clarence Thomas, if you don't remember, and Brett Kavanaugh were attacked about sexual shit that couldn't be proven. Okay? It's the Democrat way. It's the Democrat way. And now they're doing the same thing to Matt Gaetz and to Pete Hegseth. And it's just not going to float. But CBS came out and did the attack on Gaetz and Hegseth. They're putting them together. Now, why are they putting them together? Okay. What was the problem with Clarence Thomas? Clarence Thomas was a black man, and you can't put a black man into the Supreme Court unless you're a Democrat doing it. Okay? You don't believe me? Look at when George Bush was president, he had nominated a black woman to go to the Supreme Court, and the Democrats said, no, she can't go in. We have to be the people that put a black person in. And then Jose Estrada, Hispanic guy, to the Supreme Court, no, we have to do it. We Democrats do it. So the Democrats will fight tooth and nail to make sure that Republicans don't get credit for their chosen warfare, which is racism and sexism and lions. Oh my! I am so sick of this shit. I just got to tell you. That's why I, for the next 12 years, am going to bask in what's going to happen. I'm calling it the Dirty Dozen because in the next 12 years, you're going to see more shit come from the Democratic Party to fight this stuff. And I'm just praying and hoping, and I believe that it'll occur, that Trump is beginning a 12-year sentence on the Democrats while they sit there and watch Republicans save America and give us a free life and take care of us economically and protect the United States. Do you want to know how bad the Democrats recognize it to be? It's so bad that Joe Biden calls up Zelensky, who's a turncoat, and as far as I'm concerned, should just take him away, okay? Because he told Trump he wanted to have peace. If you wanted to have peace, why the hell are you firing missiles into Russia? You can't trust these people. But Ukraine ties the Biden family fraud and corruption to China and Ukraine. That all comes together. China's involved because China needs coal. China's only got, I think, 35 years of coal reserves left in their country. And Ukraine has 550 years of coal reserves. They don't need it all, but they got plenty of it, and China wants it. That's why China's involved in this Ukraine issue with Russia. But they're trying to keep it secret because they're supposed to be aligned with Russia. But I think Putin knows better. Putin's not as dumb as some people try to portray him to be. So, this show is going to be broken up into several segments. Right now, I'm going to do the progressives in China, and then we'll get to Matt Gaetz and why he shouldn't be Attorney General, because he beats up on old people. And we'll show you that video of him mercilessly destroying this old man in the House of Representatives. Of course, that old man happened to be an Attorney General the Democrats thought was qualified. See, Matt Gaetz is not qualified. But you're going to watch a video of him tear the shit out of Garland, who we all know is full of shit, has lied constantly for 4 years because that's what he's told to do. So the Democrats think, oh, Garland, yeah, he's experienced. Oh, yeah, you know who's experienced? Someone with a tongue who could go ahead and take people and tear them into shreds in the court of law. And that's what Matt Gaetz is really good at doing. And see, the big mistake is, over the next 2-3 months while this process is going on, you're going to see video after video of Matt Gaetz tearing the shit out of these Democrat criminals brought in front of the House of Representatives. Because he's been on the Judiciary Committee. Okay? He knows and understands the judiciary. And if he does this right, he's going to put together a team of people, and they're going to get a big board, and they're going to put the board, and they're going to have all the Democrats, all of them that have committed crimes, at least 10 or 12 of them we've covered on the show, and we've already covered their crimes because we know what they've done. And it's going to be grand. But first, in this segment, China's theft of nuclear secrets. So this is a Senate hearing on March 5th. Oh. So how do you stop people from talking about this? You attacked the World Trade Center in September 11th, 2001. Well, the Clinton wasn't president then. No, but they had this planes as missiles plan. They knew it was going to happen. Okay, that's why you got to understand something. You have to follow Democrats. Democrats do not sit in the chair and just go, I hope they don't get me. I hope they don't get me. I hope they don't get me. No, the Democrats are going to do something to try to throw you off the trail. And as soon as they try to throw you off the trail, you're going to realize they're guilty because they give themselves up all the time. But they need their media to cover their crime, cover the crime all the time. That's what goes on. As I said, when the communists left Russia in 1991, they had to go somewhere. And they went to the United States to control and run the progressives with their orders from China. The rest of them went to China. And then part of them also went into Europe to take over European countries, create the European Union, and attack Russia from Europe. That's what's going on right now. Okay? The communists are attacking Russia through the use of Ukraine and the European Union and all that other bullshit. Okay? And of course, the Democrats are attached because they're all owned by China. This is China taking over the world. China is taking over the world. Bit by bit. Road in this and road in that. And they're in South America. They shouldn't be in South America. Okay, there's this thing called the Monroe Doctrine. If you don't know what it is, look it up. But the Monroe Doctrine says the United States has control and not, I'm not going to use the term power, but a responsibility to make sure that the Americas are free. So the Communist Chinese shouldn't be involved. They should be told to get the hell out. But we have to wait till we get a real president in there, and we should have a real president in about 60 days. So let me read this to you. It's China's theft of nuclear secrets, page S2613. This comes from the Congressional Record, U.S. Senate, March 15th, 1999. Now, this stuff has happened for 6-7 years, but they've been able to put it off and put it off and put it off. Mr. Inhofe speaking. Mr. President, I want you to listen. I'm going to tell you the story of espionage, conspiracy, deception, and cover-up. A story with life and death implications for millions of Americans. A story about national security and a president and an administration that deliberately chose to put national security at risk while telling everyone that everything was fine. Yeah, this is true. Did he go to jail for it? No. They went after him for sexual misconduct. Yeah, the Democrats love going after people for sexual misconduct, but it wasn't the Democrats going after him. The Democrats didn't go after Bill Clinton for sexual misconduct. The 8 women that he had sexual misconduct with, they went after him. If it was written in a book, Mr. President, it wouldn't sell because no one would believe it. If it was fictionalized in a novel, few could conceive it, but it is true. For the sake of my statement today, I am stating that the president withheld information and covered up the Chinese theft of our technology. I'm not making this up. I'm reading this. This is a document from the Congress of the United States Congressional Record. But I am realistic enough to know that a person with the history of deception this president has will have provided himself with some cover in case he got caught. So I'm sure I need to read this line to you one more time because everyone believes that there were two Ten Commandments. Actually, there were 10 commandments and then there was the one commandment. But the one commandment Moses didn't bring down. That was brought down by somebody that's never been named in history, but it's the commandment of Democrats. And let me read it to you. But I am realistic enough to know that a person with the history of deception this president has will provide himself with some cover in case he got caught. Vince Foster comes to mind. I wonder why. Why does Vince Foster come to mind? Anybody know Hillary? Huh, Bill? Yeah, you're on the list, Hillary. You're going to get yours. Oh, you haven't escaped. But I'm realistic enough to know that a person with the history of deception this president has will have provided himself with some cover in case he got caught. So I am sure there is a paper trail that he can allege the way the president probably covered himself was to include tidbits about this theft buried in briefings of 40 or 50 other items so the significance of it would not be noticed, but a paper trail would be established. You mean like every time the Democrats come up with a method to steal money from the American people by voting, spending in congressional bills that nobody sees, because they combine them all into one big 10,000 page thing instead of individual per department. They steal money from us. Okay, right now the Defense Department, the Pentagon, can't find $835 billion. Okay, wait a minute. Hold on a second. If Pete Hegseth gets picked to be Secretary of Defense, he's going to be in charge of all of that stuff. The Democrats won't be able to steal money through the defense budget. You know, where they send out money to people and then they get the kickbacks? How do you think they're all millionaires and own mansions? Okay, the reason to go into government is to steal money from the American people. That's why they created a tax code in 1913, to make sure they'd be constantly stealing money from the American people. I guarantee you the tax code's going to be dead in 2 years. Gone. Everything I've been prognosticating about and preaching about is finally coming. Anticipating that, I, over the weekend, talked to the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Congressman Porter Goss, and the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee at the time of the discovery of the secret, this information, Senator Arlen Specter. Neither chairman was notified of the W-88 nuclear warhead technology theft, and these would have been the first to be notified, Mr. President. There can be no doubt that President Clinton engaged in a cover-up scheme.
Really? Not the Clintons, no. No, not them.
Let me read 3 paragraphs from last week's op-ed article by Michael Kelly in the Washington Post entitled Lies About China. I am quoting now, Mr. President. In April 1996, Energy Department officials informed Samuel Berger, Sammy's the guy that went in to get some secret documents and remove them without people seeing them, and he stuffed them into his socks.
Gee, was he committing a crime? I don't recall them going after him. Huh?
In April 1996, Energy Department officials informed Samuel Berger, then Clinton's deputy national security advisor, that Notre Trulock, the department's chief of intelligence, had uncovered evidence that showed China had learned how to miniaturize nuclear bombs, allowing for smaller, more lethal warheads.
You know, like the ones they're going to put on the missiles that can now hit the United States because Mr. Clinton gave them gyro technology. Yeah.
Further quoting, the Times reports that House Intelligence Committee asked Trulock, pay attention to this, the Times reports that the House Intelligence Committee asked Trulock for a briefing in July 1998. Trulock asked for permission from Elizabeth Mueller, then acting energy secretary, and according to Trulock, Mueller told him not to brief the committee because the information might be used against Clinton's China policy.
China policy.
The Clintons' China policy. What was the Clintons' China policy? Can you tell me? Let's see. We had Ronald Reagan for 8 years and no China policy, no China control of the United States. And then we had George Bush Sr. for 4 years, and we kind of don't know what he was doing, but we're not giving him a pass. But the Clintons came to power, and the Chinese door, there's a secret door in the Great Wall of China. Nobody knows about it. There's a big wall. And in that, the Clintons are able to come in, and all the Democrats, and bring all the shit they're going to shove up America's ass while they're president and in the White House. But wait, this was Bill Clinton's China policy. So evidently Bill Clinton's China policy was to give the Chinese everything they wanted in exchange for money. Now, I've only read to you the first page, okay? You can find this, it's in the congressional record. It goes into detail here. So finally, Mr. President, let me repeat the 6 proven incontrovertible facts. 1. President Clinton hosted over 100 campaign fundraisers in the White House, many with Chinese connections. President Clinton used John Wong, Charlie Tree, Johnny Chung, James Riotti, and others with strong Chinese ties to raise campaign money. President Clinton signed waivers to allow his top campaign fundraisers, aerospace company, to transfer United States missile guidance technology to China. That's the gyro technology. That way they can send their missiles and shove them right up our ass. President Clinton covered up the theft of our most valuable nuclear weapons technology. President Clinton lied to the American people over 130 times about our nation's security, while he knew Chinese missiles were aimed at American children. And number 6, President Clinton single-handedly stopped the deployment of a national missile defense system, exposing every American life to a missile attack, leaving America with no defense whatsoever against an intercontinental ballistic missile. Again, it doesn't matter whether President Clinton did these things for Chinese campaign contributions, because the motive for aiding and abetting our adversaries is not important. The fact is, President Clinton did it, and he knew exactly what he was doing. President Clinton currently sits in the jail and oh no, he doesn't. No, they never went after him.
Why, Mike? What could have possibly happened?
What could have possibly happened to get America off the process of going after Bill Clinton and the Chinese thing?
I don't know, Mike. Maybe an attack on New York? Huh? What do you think? Hey, let's see.
Clinton was president up to 2000. What happened? Let's think about this. Okay, you have to understand how the Democrats think, and you have to understand how the Democrat concepts are hidden by the Democrat-controlled media. Okay, let's go back. Remember, criminals do the same. It's called modus operandi. They do the same shit over and over again. Okay, they attacked the World Trade Center. They let the World Trade Center get bombed in 1993. And within 2 days, they had to get the story off to give the Marxist media something to follow. So they go to Waco, Texas, and they attack Christians. Okay, but they didn't really attack them until April 19th because Hillary wanted to give this story that it was, right-wing extremists. That's why they picked April 19th to blow up Oklahoma City, which was a campaign event, because Bill Clinton had to be reelected and he wasn't, and that means Hillary Clinton's not getting reelected. So what they did was, even though they knew from the ATF, even though they knew from the FBI who the group was in Ponca City, Oklahoma, that was planning to blow up the building, they already had 2 people inside the organizations. They knew all the information, and the phone call was made. Go ahead and get him. You can arrest him. Go ahead, Hillary. Yeah, Hillary, do you want to get rid of the people that are going to blow up the World Trade Center?
No, I want to use it for a campaign event. It's only 180 people. They were Americans. Kill them!
Is that what happened, Hillary? Did you make the phone call? Or did you tell Janet Reno to make the phone call, not to do anything? Don't do anything, because what we're going to do is we're going to do this fake bullshit after it blows up, and we're going to claim that 2 Americans that had nothing to do with it were involved, and the 2 guys that were running the organization, the neo-Nazi organization, one of them was from Germany, we're not going to do anything to them. We're going to let them go. Why are we going to let them go? Because they know the truth. And see, we are Democrats. We're full of shit. Okay, so I'm going to go back to this one thing here, because these 2 stories are connected. Let's see. This one is March 15th, 1999. And this one here is October 1st, 2024. So that's 25 years. Clinton China policy. Give China all the nuclear technology and missile technology they want because the Chinese are paying us. And we're selling out the United States to China. Everyone in the Clinton administration that knew this shit needs to get into the electric chair. Bolt them in. And now, 25 years later, we have a different China policy. Yeah, a different China policy. And who is in charge of this China policy? Well, the person who was supposed to be in charge of this China policy didn't win the election in 2024, but she was their chosen candidate, Mrs. Full of Shit Always, Kamala Harris. Yes. So, China first or America first, huh? CPAC members renew effort to prevent the relaunch of Trump-era China initiative. What was that? Tariffs and shit? Protecting America from China? Is that the Trump?
Oh, well, they were looking.
Now, can you believe this? Here, today, Congressional Asia Pacific American Caucus, CAPAC, Chair Rep. Judy Chu, happens to be Chinese, First Vice Chair Rep. Grace Meng, who happens to be Chinese, an executive member, Senator Mazie Hirono, who happens to be a lunatic, led a renewed effort with 34 other members of Congress to stop Republican members of Congress from reinstating the China Initiative. I bet those other 34 members of Congress
Are progressives. Yeah.
same guys, huh? Don't you just love being attacked by the same people all the time, watching TV? Hey, we killed some more Americans. Hey, we stole some more Americans. Hey, we just made 325,000 children disappear. Poof, what a magic trick. Now we're going to make $853 billion disappear from the Pentagon. Pew. No, do not give us Hexeth and Gates. No, please don't. Don't. We please don't. Hey, here. We got some made up shit on them. Sexual misconduct. We've never used it before. Well, we kind of used it against Trump with that dingbat who couldn't remember when she was raped in the store. Okay, that was another Hillary Clinton New York fraud shit deal. Following the launch of the China Initiative in November 2018, federal authorities wielded this prosecutorial initiative as a blunt instrument rather than a narrow or tailored tool to combat threats to national security, wrote the members to House and Senate leadership. The China Initiative also enabled the racial profiling and targeting of individuals who had some nexus to China. Chinese Americans and Chinese researchers and scholars who have been valuable contributors to science and technology and academia in this country for decades reported that they felt. Were they targeted? Or did they just feel they were targeted? Feeling's important.
Yeah, it is. Don't forget that. Some days I feel targeted. I just don't know who to target the target.
Don't mind if I take. You gotta have some levity in this, otherwise you'd pull out a gun and shoot somebody. You wouldn't shoot yourself. That wouldn't make any sense, because I'm not a criminal. Who have made valuable contributions to science, technology, and academia. Hey, Mike, how did the Chinese spies get to the information that they stole? Well, they were involved in science, technology, and academia. I guess. See, this is what I don't understand. Why hasn't the Democratic Party gone around the whole country and shut down all the circuses? Why would they shut down all the circuses? All the circuses in the United States don't have Chinese spies in them. China doesn't call up and go, hey, let's send spies into all the circuses around the world or around the country because we know there's a bunch of clowns there. No, they're not the same clowns that are in the Congress of the United States. That's a different group of clowns. No, the Chinese communists do not go after the circuses. No, they go after high technology businesses, and that's how they steal technology. And there's one problem, okay? What does an American spy look like? Well, he can be white. He could be black. He could be Asian. He could be Indian. He could have been Hispanic. Because Americans are of everything. What does a Chinese spy look like?
He's Chinese.
Or they could find some white guy that's disjointed because of DEI and shit and decide to spy for the Chinese. That doesn't really happen often. The Department of Justice ended the program in 2022 after several of the alleged espionage and national security cases ended in acquittal, dismissal, or were dropped altogether. But Republicans in Congress are now attempting to restart the program using a provision in a key House spending bill at the same time that they are reviving racially motivated rhetoric against Chinese Americans. So Clinton's China policy was to accept money from China in exchange for giving them nuclear missile technology and all sorts of good shit that you need to attack America. And Trump's policy was to prevent them from stealing shit from us because we weren't taking money from China for this stuff. But the Clintons were. So there's your two China policies, 25 years apart. But what do we know? The Democrats are still working with the CPAC people because it's the Democrats helping China. Why are the Democrats aligned with China since 1993? Mike, you nailed this shit 2 years ago when you started this show. How did you know, Mike? Because I can read. It's obvious. It's obvious. Okay, so we're going to do one more thing here. And then that's going to be, let's see, what have I've been talking for 46 minutes! Jeez. God, I can talk. See, that's what happens. See, when you're a radio talk show host and you have a 4-hour show, you're either on from 10 to 2 on Saturdays or you're on from 10 to 2 at nighttime. You know how to talk, you know how to entertain, and time just flies by. Because that's what I do. I talk. I communicate. And I have a brain. I'm not the Tin Man you think I am.
Mike, it's the Scarecrow, not the Tin Man. You did it on purpose.
Okay, today's about us. As you know, there's an organization that we've already talked about called Progressives. They're communist enemies of the United States, but they can't be called communists because then you go, communist. So they're called Progressives. So you go,
oh, you're progressive. Thanks for the tax code. I love having all my money stolen.
About us. Alliance for Justice. Or is it Alliance for Just Us? Us communist progressives. Is at the heart of showing the progressive movement the power that courts have in all our lives. Is it maybe because we're a constitutional republic and we have a constitution and a set of laws and we're a nation of laws, not a nation of criminal communist progressive scumbags like happens every time the Democrats are in power? At some point in time, after we get through this two-state solution, you're going to finally realize, get them out of here. Send them to Mexico, send them to Cayenne, get them the frick out of this country. Get rid of the Democrats. We can't send them to Canada because they'll sneak back into the country over the border. Our nearly 140 organizations represent a broad array of groups committed to progressive values since 1979. Who was president in 1979? Could it have been a Democrat named Jimmy Carter?
Yeah, that's right.
AFJ has been the leader in advocating for a fair and independent justice system, and we have changed the conversation around the critical importance of our courts. We are shaping a tomorrow where rights are safeguarded and justice prevails. Bullshit! Progressivism has nothing to do with justice. It just has to do with just us. Us. Getting rid of us, the free peoples. Our mission. We build the strength of progressive movements. That's kind of like bowel movements. You know, you have to take stuff to make sure you have a good bowel movement. In this case, they have to take stuff to make sure they can keep a progressive movement going because they're full of shit. We build the strength of progressive movements by training and educating nonprofit organizations. You mean like NGOs the same pieces of shit stealing American money and making sure that 17 million illegal immigrants crossed the border for the 4 years that the communists have been in charge, the progressives have been in charge of our country. Don't call them Democrats anymore. Call them progressives. Our vision, AFJ envisions a vibrant, ambitious, multiracial constitutional democracy where historically marginalized voices are amplified to upend exclusionary systems and center justice on our institutions of power. The impetus for AFJ's creation came in 1971 when the famous Powell memo argued that the American economic system was under broad attack and urged the business community to weaponize the courts to serve business interests. Weaponize the courts to serve business interests. In a few short years, AFJ realized that the times called for a program focused on judicial selection. AFJ launched its Judicial Selection Project in the mid-1980s with an advisory committee drawn from 20 like-minded progressive nonprofits. Are you the people that keep coming up with sexual misconduct bullshit? You know, you sent somebody to sit in front of Congress and try to explain how she was sexually attacked by I always keep wanting to say Gorsuch because that's an easier name to remember. But it wasn't Gorsuch, it was Brett Kavanaugh. Remember the bullshit they put Brett Kavanaugh through? Now they're going to put Exist and Gates through. We'll get to the next show. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Love you. Bye.